You'll get to the point where there's no turning back. And then all the Dracos can do is make you have a psychic heart attack. And run, 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 run. Run, 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 run. Run the myth of mental illness one more time, and then you're gonna find no more business after a while. Several more years, you will never get to have a smile. Thank you. My name is Trey, and these are my myths. As it is approaching midnight, I first have to thank my first possible Illuminati troll, or wherever their sorcery is from, for calling me this term. Because this was the original scam that they tried to pull on me. So what happened is, long story short, it's really sad and tragic. I was at a Bela Fleck sleepover, and a friend of mine and his beautiful girlfriend said, "Can we sleep in your tent?" Or it was actually kind of an acquaintance and a friend I played music with. And I said, "Sure." And I found this little red, tiny little red thing, and but over the years, so now I've had this blood thing in my blood for a very long time, and I think if I was if I put myself into a place where I had the proper amount of hot water, I create it dormant. I'm not 100% clear of it, but I'm approaching the end, So what happened is, after several years, I went to get help from an MD, medical MD, and you know what it was? He heard me talking to my mother about astrology, and after that, he said, "You got to take him to the public crazy house." Pretty primitive 20 years ago in South Carolina, right? So she did, unfortunately, and the other thing that happened was um, I had gone there because I had bounced. What happened is someone did a 3-point turn, and I was at my friend's house playing music in downtown Charleston. My friend Isaac, who's a college student at UCS at a college of Charleston, was my best friend. And I would sleep on his couch for weeks at a time sometimes, and someone slammed and did a 3-point turn and hit my car, and I got a check for $1,800. And my uncle and David insisted I got a checking account, and something in me, I had a bad feeling about it because I wanted to just pay a down payment on an apartment in downtown Charleston and get a band together, and but I did it anyway and stayed at my grandfather's old house. And lo and behold, being somewhat mentally retarded or whatnot, controlled by the archons in the negative sense at that point, I'd bounced 4 checks, and the part of my brain that was schizophrenic, I thought, oh well, the cops are going to come and get me for because I owe $200. I actually asked to go to a psychiatrist when I was 14 years old, and I took Prozac for a month, almost a month when I was 15, and Paxil for almost a month when I was 14. And both occasions, toward the end of it, I remember thinking, the government's a bunch of nasty, dark mafia, and I didn't realize it or something like that. And then I realized intuitively if I kept taking it, I would, and then I would not be well at all. And then I remember seeing a video on YouTube several years ago of a guy who said he took Prozac for 2 years from age 20 to 22, and now he's permanently, he can't get it up or whatever. So I don't know. I'm not making claims. I'm just saying that intuitively I knew it was wrong. And I was all into bacon and stuff like that. But when I turned 19, I became a vegetarian. I've always been into raw dairy, and lately I've been drinking down eggs for the past 5-6 years. It really helped a lot to get rid of this. But sunbathing more than anything besides, mixing cannabis and sunbathing. And now it's the courage sharing it with you. So when this person, and what happened is, my mother took me to the crazy house. So when this possible troll called me this name, it brung this up. Because I believe in transparency. I don't even believe in any kind of deception. I've always been that way, the opposite of Satan and Lucifer. My grandfather was a 33-degree Freemason, but I just don't have that secret society type. I'm like the grandfather elder to everyone, even when I was a kid, So because I'm a Celtic, okay, I have an older soul. People always told me. So I'm stepping into my role now. So I'm just in complete transparency here. So here's what happened. My mom took me to this place called the Anderson Public Department of Mental Health. And this guy was interviewing me, or the nurse, and this guy was interviewing me, and I said that I had the skin eruption and so forth, skin condition. And I actually thought it was a mutant crab lice or something. And I actually did get crabs at one point, and then took their medication for it, and I got rid of it. But it wasn't that. It was Mr. SUV or whatever. I don't know some number, some letters of some genetically modified, blood protein demon in my blood. So I've learned how to get rid of it or minimize it, and so I actually told this psychiatrist. I was 21 or something years old. I told the psychiatrist I believe the body can heal itself, but I've never given myself a chance. So and he was like, well, you can get a straight jacket and a little bit of antipsychotics, or we'll let you keep your arms free and take a lot of antipsychotics. I'm like, I was sitting there with my mom. I'm like, sir, you don't have the right to do that. I'm nonviolent. That's illegal. I know that's against the Constitution, the law, and so forth. And he's like, well, and he's trying to, I had to, took me 3 hours to talk him out of it, but my brain, my spirituality, my mind power was stronger than his. And what I did is I said, can I please get another interview with the head psychiatrist when he gets off vacation tomorrow? Because the main guy was coming back tomorrow, and I talked him into it. And then we got in the car, and I got my mom to take me to Bilo, and I bought about 5 Cliff Bars, and we got back in the car, and I started cussing her out under my breath for about 5 minutes. And then that night after she went to sleep, I started walking down the train tracks in the town in South Carolina where she lives, and I walked around the town all night, actually, because I was going to hop a train and one never came, but it's like it made a loop. There's actually a free bus service around that town and a train track that rolls around right back. And it turns out after all night, walking all night, I was right back to her at my mother's house where she still lives. But before I got there, or I saw the exit for her street, and before I got there, I just hung out on the on-ramp, and it was the sun had come out, and this fat blonde lady in a red convertible sports car gave me a ride to South Carolina, and my friend Mike Malone was renting this apartment by the week with his hot girlfriend, and he said, well, you can stay there, you can stay with me, but you're gonna have to drop you off at labor ready, because he worked at a factory and left at 6 in the morning, and so I was like, okay, because he was afraid. I mean, I didn't really think she was. I mean, she was hot as far as like good looking and horny. We were all 20 years old or whatever, but I didn't really find her mentally attractive. But so it wasn't like I probably wouldn't have done anything with her. But he just wanted it. He was, he thought I would. So, but he said you can stay for a week. So he dropped me off at Labor Ready. And I got this moving job, and it was this in McClellanville, North Carolina. The steep, really steep road driveway was super steep. This couple had moved from Maine. This old couple with all their stuff, and this U-Haul. The guy who worked for the moving company with his wife and adorable little kids were in this big pickup truck with all their stuff. He couldn't get it up the driveway, so he gave us each a little tip, a couple 20s, and said, "Come back tomorrow." And then we went back the next day, and even though we broke the precious headboard, glass mirror headboard, three of us working for Labor Ready, I made $200 in tips, because the mover was like this loving hippie guy, and he goes, "I'd rather give you that money than Labor Ready." So then I got Mike to take me to downtown Asheville, North Carolina, to this place where we'd go to buy weed and meet people and jam music. And I met this dude right then, and he heard me saying that I was looking for a place, and he rented me the whole bottom floor. Sunshine Cancer. He rented me the whole bottom floor of he was a bartender at Starbucks. He was alcoholic, Italian. I just didn't. It was kind of heavy for me to be around the alcoholism, but it was cool though, because he rented me the whole bottom floor for that $150 for 2 weeks or something like that. So there's a book that I found, and it was so brown it was almost falling apart, and then the rain totally got it. Man, it's just tragic, but totally out of print. You can probably find a PDF, and it's called "The Myth of Mental Illness" by Thomas Szasz. Thomas Szaz. And I was born December 15th. His birthday is April 15th. And I looked it up, and he totally blasts through all their illusions. Like he said that the idea of the mentally ill came from Freud. Freud sprung up the idea that all the stuff in the subconscious was bad, and because to serve the bourgeoisie and the elites, so that they could get rid of the people such as me that were like the person in the family who was the wild one, the musician, the contrarian, the Heyoka, the spiritualist, or the one who is the loving mystic, or the loving oneness conscious person in the family, act like they were crazy, or act like the person that was thought outside the box was crazy, So it's the whole thing is. I want to give thanks again to this, to my newest. I'm sure I have several. If I got 42 subscribers, I mean, I'm thankful. I wrote something here. I'm not saying this is completely accurate, but it's like when you get fully enlightened, it's like Satan and Lucifer are just my mental playthings and obstacles, hologramic false obstacles and hologramic inserts. Why does the forest sound like a flat screen TV or fluorescent light? The fact of origin of term. Conspiracy theorist. Psychiatry. The beast that tried to kill me several times. Psychiatry. Medical mafia. High schizophrenic. Reference the big secret I just watched, and it's great. And enjoy my channel.